Sex through history was way more disturbing than you think. If you think modern dating is confusing, if you think sex today is full of contradictions, wait until you see how humans handled it for thousands of years. Because sex in history wasn't about intimacy, it was about power, hierarchy, and control. 1. Prehistory and early civilizations. Sex as survival. In early human societies, sex was primarily functional. Archaeological evidence suggests pair bonding was unstable. Women were often exchanged between groups. Pregnancy was a resource issue. There was little concept of romantic choice. Sex ensured survival of the group, not personal happiness. In places like Mesopotamia, sex was also ritualized. Some temples practiced sacred prostitution, where sex was offered to gods through priests or priestesses. This wasn't seen as immoral. It was seen as necessary. 1. Ancient Greece. Desire with a hierarchy. Ancient Greece is often romanticized, but sexual ethics were deeply unequal. In Athens, adult male citizens had sexual freedom. Women were confined to reproduction. Slaves had no rights. One of the most accepted relationships was between an adult man and a teenage boy, a system called pederasty. Consent was assumed based on status, not age or choice. Marriage was for heirs. Pleasure was sought elsewhere. 1. Ancient Rome. Sex as domination. Romans didn't divide sex into gay or straight. They divided it into dominant and submissive. What mattered wasn't who you slept with, but whether you were on top. A Roman citizen could legally have sex with slaves, prostitutes, conquered peoples, as long as they maintained dominance. Refusing sex wasn't a right for the powerless. Sex reinforced Rome's social order. 1. Ancient India, spiritual. Yet restrictive India gave the world the Kama Sutra, often misunderstood as a sex manual. In reality, it was a guide to social status, gender roles, marriage strategies. While sexuality was discussed openly, strict caste rules applied. Sex across caste lines could lead to exile or death. So even in cultures that talked about pleasure, freedom was limited. 1. Medieval Europe. Sin, fear, and control. With the rise of Christianity, sex became moralized. The Church taught sex was only for reproduction, desire was sinful, pleasure invited damnation. There were even lists of forbidden sex positions. Too much enjoyment meant you were spiritually corrupt. Public purity was enforced. Private abuse was ignored. 1. The Islamic Golden Age. Knowledge with boundaries. During the Islamic Golden Age, scholars wrote openly about sex, health, and pleasure. Medical texts discussed sexual satisfaction, female pleasure, marital intimacy, yet strict gender segregation remained. Sex was encouraged, but only within rigid moral frameworks. Freedom existed, but only inside the rules. 1. Early modern Europe. Shame meets science. As science advanced, sexuality didn't get freer, it got pathologized. Doctors believed masturbation caused insanity. Women were naturally hysterical. Sexual desire weakened the body. Medical treatments for desire included isolation, restraints, and surgery. Sex wasn't sinful anymore. It was dangerous. 1. Children and marriage. A dark constant. Across history, childhood as we know it barely existed. In ancient Rome, medieval Europe, and many agrarian societies, marriage ages were extremely low. Power mattered more than age. Protection was minimal. This wasn't taboo. It was normal. Only in the last century did societies begin drawing hard moral lines. So, when people say the past was more innocent, what they really mean is it was less questioned. Sex wasn't purer. It was controlled. Understanding this doesn't excuse history. It explains why sex is still wrapped in shame, contradiction and confusion today. If this video made you uncomfortable, good. History should.